so on. So go ask, and you'll be surprised what you discover. And this can only enrich your relationship. Okay, please turn back one page. I'm going to share with you one of my favorite exercises in the Shalom workshop that we do for both engaged couples and married couples. It's called, sorry? Please take one. It's called the daily temperature reading. Look on page 2, please. What is a daily temperature reading? We found out after research that many couples, even if they spend quality time together, don't know what to talk about. They're not used to talking. Some couples just don't know how to talk to one another. They're used to talking about all their stress. They kind of live off the stress. Especially couples where children are getting older and moving out of the home. They spend 20, 30 years just dealing with their children's problems, their homework, tuition, taking kids to Shul, and suddenly the kids grow up, they're left alone. So what do they talk about? And even, what? The grandchildren, you have something else to talk about. But what if you're alone? Maybe you just got married. What do you actually talk about? You felt people lost the gift of gab. We created an exercise called Daily Temperature Reading with a company named Pairs. And we have couples in our workshops, we teach them this exercise to sit down with one another and tell each other, let's do a daily temperature reading. Why is it called a daily temperature reading? Because when you want to know the temperature, it's because you want to know how to dress that day, what's going on in the world, is it raining, is it sunshine, we do different activities today based upon the weather and so on, how do we dress, drive around today, and so on. We just want to get a temperature of the climate. So to an emotional level, we need to take a temperature to understand what is our emotional climate. Because we're so disconnected, we're so busy with work, with the children, with cleaning, with shopping, and so on, and doing homework. What about each other? Where are we emotionally at any moment? So we suggest to couples to sit down together and say, would you do the daily temperature reading with me? Take 5 to 10 minutes. This is how you do it. We ask couples to talk about 5 things on that list in front of you. The first thing is one person actually talks, the other person listens, they go through the list, and they switch. The first thing is appreciations. Share. Rabbi Krohn talked about it tonight. One of his A's, I think, was appreciation. And we need to just express to our spouses how much we actually appreciate the things that we don't take time to usually appreciate them for. Like, for example, you want to appreciate your wife, how well she takes care of your home, the things she does for your children, the kind ways in which she helps you that you forget to thank her for, the wonderful food she cooks for you. We tend to, as human beings, pick up on the things we don't like, but what about the things we have been given by our spouses, but we don't actually appreciate? So the first thing you share with your spouse is the sense of appreciation. Those little things. For example, remember when we got married, my wife never liked going to sleep when there were dishes in the sink. One night she was exhausted, fell on her face in bed, went right to sleep. I actually stayed up a little longer because it was a sink full of dishes, and I washed the dishes for her. And she woke up, and we talked about tangible acts of service before as a language of love. For her, that was a language of love, that I, late at night, washed the dishes. And when we did this daily temperature reading, I put them away. Actually, no, that's even better. That would be like the Rolls Royce.
What happens if you would have left one dish out?
She would have picked up in that dish. Why was that? Well, not only that, you're right, but when we did this exercise, that was an appreciation she shared with me. She remembered years before we did this exercise, she said, remember we got married, you were up late at night, you did the dishes, you made me feel great. I want to really share this appreciation with you. So come up with your list of appreciation. There's many things, if you think about it long enough, you will find you really appreciate the person you married to. Number 2 is new information. What is new information? Things which you forgot to tell your wife. A new job opportunity. You found out about a place for going away for Pesach this year. One of your children just applied to certain colleges. Your wife might not have known about it. You want to explain that to her. You want to share new things with the person you're married to. Things you might have forgotten to tell them. Number 3 are puzzles. A puzzle is something which you're confused about. Basics. How are we going to pay the bills this month? That's a puzzle, right? How are we going to, finish renovations in a home if we don't have enough money?
Range of addictions.
Where are we going for the Yom Tov? Are we going to your family's house? Going to my home? My parents? I'm just confused about this. I'm not sure. Or another puzzle would be, you said something to me yesterday. I wasn't sure what you meant. You might have even been critical. I don't know if you're criticizing me or you were just very overwhelmed and stressed. I'm just wondering. You left me kind of wondering. I don't know what you meant. Could you just maybe help me understand what you were talking about? So you explain what your puzzles are about the person. Number 4 I don't want to do tonight. It's called complaints with requests for change. I don't have enough time tonight to teach you how to complain. Instead, let's go on to number 5, which is wishes, hopes, and dreams. The last thing you do in a daily temperature reading is you sit down with your spouse and you say to them, these are my hopes, wishes, and dreams. It could be things in the present you're hoping for, like taking a trip to Israel, like I really hope to marry off our children, so. Like you're hoping that you have enough money to take a vacation with your family to a certain place. Things you're hoping for. Or more important things, like you're really hoping your kids will become Doniel, your daughter will go off to seminary, marry your Shemayim, and so on. These are things which all of us kind of hope for. And we think about, we don't often express to our spouses. So that's one of the possible hopes. What are wishes and dreams? When we got married 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, looking at the crowd a little bit, what did we get married for? Not me. 50 or now. What did we get married for in the first place? What was the dream of our relationship? To build a bed by a Neman, to build a home of Talmidei Chachamim, Dar Shemayim, to perhaps make Aliyah, move to Eretz Yisrael was our dream. Many of us got married for it, didn't fulfill necessarily, but we had all these hopes and dreams. We had a dream that our home would be a place of kiruv, of Echnas Zorchim, right? We'd be doing a lot of outreach with our lives, help a lot of Yidden, car them to Torah, mitzvahs. So that's a tremendous dream. But you know what happened to a lot of us? We started out like that, but we got busy with the children and the job, and we forgot about those dreams that we had. And now's the opportunity during daily temperature reading to revisit real hopes, wishes, and dreams that we got married for, and things we hope in the present and for the future as well. So the way you do this exercise, you invite each other, you say, I want to do a daily temperature reading with you. By the way, it doesn't have to be daily. It's a little too much for some people. Do it once a week. Do it after Havdalah, before you light Shabbos candles, whenever that time is in your life, in a few moments, sit down and do the daily temperature reading with your wife. You sit down, one person goes through the list, the other person kind of listens and nods, and the other person does the same thing. We go through the entire list. And most of us find when we do this, a sense of greater attachment, a sense of greater closeness, a sense of that we're expressing ourselves from another, we're relieving ourselves of these feelings. We have somebody to turn towards with our feelings as opposed to turning away. This is a moment for tremendous attachment, the daily temperature. Okay? Any questions? Let's go back to the first page. And let me kind of psychologically refine a bit what Rabbi Crow said about the importance of commitment and the importance of attachment. As I mentioned before, John Bowlby, one of the great psychiatrists of the 20th century, researched thousands of mothers and children, claimed that one of the essential biological drives of a human being is not just pleasure, which was mentioned by a Yid, I don't know his name, but he said rather that one of the primal drives of a human being is attachment. We all crave, long, need, and biologically need attachment. Children, for example, crave attachment. If you look at a little child, when, let's say you have a one and a half year old or 1 year old with mommy, and a stranger walks into the house, what does the child do? Runs to mom, holds on to mom, right? What do we do, God forbid, when we get terrible news, or we're very frightened about something, or God forbid something terrible almost happened to us? What do we usually do? We turn towards somebody for relief. Sometimes it could be Sometimes it could be a friend. Most of the time it's our spouse. A lot of the time when we were younger, it was our parents. Perhaps